Good evening, spiritual warriors. Welcome to Spiritual Warriorship, where we read and study and discuss books by His Holiness Bhakti-tirtha Swami. And as I've said many times, or in case you're here first time or you forgot, you can purchase these books at Krishna.com or on the publisher's website, harinamapress.org. And as I said, if you go there, they have a free gift, at least the last time I looked, for anyone who comes to the website and signs in. And I'm hoping that some of you are endeavoring to get these Spiritual Warrior books. We're now on Spiritual Warrior 5. What is that? Making friends. Making the mind your best friend. In Spiritual Warrior 4, we dealt with the enemies of the mind. And here he's taking us through. And this chapter, chapter 4 in Spiritual Warrior 5, is entitled The Necessity of Enthusiasm. How was your enthusiasm this week? Did you have time to remember some of the points we spoke on or have been speaking on? Did you see opportunities where the enemy of the mind may have been coming in and pushing you down, and you remembered how important it is to be enthusiastic and to see what is in that experience for you to learn and grow from? I truly hope and pray that you're being able to use some of the material we're getting here. What I'm going to do tonight, of course, if you've been with me a while, you know I love to review, because I'm really doing it for my own benefit, but I realize that you can go back to any of the programs we've done to hear it again. I did suggest 2 books last week from our reading, The Nectar of Instructions, and text number 3, where Rupa Goswami speaks about enthusiasm. And I also read from a portion of Madhurya Kandambini, where we read how once we clean up or get rid of our anarthas, and then we're on the path towards Bhav, which is the ecstasy of knowing God, and then work towards the love of God. And he speaks quite a bit about, he constantly reminds us of what the ultimate goal of studying these books, studying Srila Prabhupada's books, and studying this ancient Vedic philosophy. The ultimate goal is love of God, prema. And what he gives us here helps us to clarify that and to see what may be obstacles and blocks. And then he breaks it down. So what I'm going to do tonight, we're just about finished this chapter, and the last time I asked for questions. There weren't too many, some nice comments though. But at the end of every chapter, there are questions and he gives answers. And these questions struck me as something that you may have on your mind or have felt like asking or wondered about after hearing what he spoke about earlier. So what I'm going to do, we'll conclude the last section in the chapter, and then we'll look at some of the questions and how he answers, because it's almost like another lecture, and maybe it'll even titillate you more towards wanting to really realize the importance of being enthusiastic and how that brings you closer to our ultimate goal of love of God and getting back home, back to Godhead. He keeps reminding us about the spiritual world. Okay, so everybody ready? Anybody in the chat room tonight?
Anushka Patel.
Anushka Patel, welcome, welcome. We must have some. Where are you from, by the way? Anushka Patel. I'm just getting all into people's business. What did she say? Okay, you can tell us later. We'll go on that. Is that the only person? Okay, welcome. Let's go. Now the last section, he tells us about, he titles it, run enthusiastically towards the door. And that door is really the door to the spiritual world. Let's see what he says. He says that we want to accelerate our own consciousness by removing any distractions. And any distractions which interfere with our progressive march towards the ultimate goal. And what did we say the ultimate goal was? Love of God and being purified enough to go back home, back to Godhead. Now this does not mean that we should be in denial, but it means that we do not let anything dominate our consciousness other than service to God. Which takes us back to the essence of spiritual life. And if you remember, it's stated, always remember God and never forget God. That's the essence of your spiritual life. So if you're always remembering God, you're knowing that you are His servant and you are endeavoring to serve and please Him. So things just fall into place. But doubts, attachments, and other enemies of the mind, remember he's saying it's the enemies of the mind that puts our enthusiasm back and makes us apathetic or stagnated. But doubts, attachment, and other enemies of the mind will all prevent us from experiencing the ultimate joy and excitement. So it's our duty, our responsibility to be so mindful and attentive that if we're not enthusiastic, what enemy is trying to work its way into our consciousness? He says even a person that worries so much about their own weakness and faults will lack sufficient determination, because all of our energy will go into the negative reflections. And it's confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatamrita. No, I love that book, Srimad Bhagavatamrita. It's confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 14th verse, 58, 14th chapter, 58 verse, that the material world is a place of misery and danger at every step. Padam yad vipadam na tesham. So therefore, if there's danger at every step, we don't want to put all our energy into the realm of worry and anxiety. So everyone has an opportunity to come to the door, which is the door where the spiritual world, and from there it leads to praying. And we want to reach that door ourselves and bring others with us. Not a selfish thing. Salvation is no. We want others to come. So we don't want to delay our own return because somebody else lost their enthusiasm. We want to be carriers of enthusiasm. to such an extent that we can infect others. But if we cannot infect others with our enthusiasm, we certainly do not want other people to drain us, ruining our own chance to escape into the realm of eternal joy and excitement. So once more, I'm encouraging you to be mindful and attentive as you go about your everyday work. How enthusiastic are you? I noticed this evening I was starting to feel a little drowsy. I do get up early in the morning. And I thought I wanted to take a nap, but it's always when I say, okay, I'm going to rest a while, I close my eyes, but the sleep goes away. But what I was realizing how I was feeling, because my mind was saying, you tired. Remember, you got up early this morning, you didn't take a nap today. And I said, oh no, I've got to find my enthusiasm so that I could share this material with you. So prayerfully, I'm okay. So let's look at questions and answers. What questions are on your mind as you hear this wonderful material and this way of moving ahead and getting to the higher levels and getting a higher taste for our spiritual life? Because that's why we're here. We're in this human form with the intelligence to question, inquire. A dog can't do that. What they say, a dog or any animal, they eat, they mate, they defend, they sleep. And so do we as humans. We sleep, we eat, we mate, we defend. But we as humans have been given the intelligence to inquire. Purpose of life, meaning of life. Who is God? So if we're studying, we're getting those answers. And what Bhakti Tirtha Swami does with these statements in these books is to encourage us, to keep us attentive to that and show us what we can accomplish. So this was a question after the class. At different points during our spiritual growth, we may reach plateaus where we have to work out specific issues before we can continue on our progressive march. When we reach plateaus, do the tests affect our enthusiasm? And if so, how can we protect our enthusiasm and determination? And a good question. Have you thought about that at times? Because we've been told many times we're going to be tested. And the challenge, he uses challenge for that. We're going to be challenged and tested to see if we're serious. This spiritual path is an exciting, wonderful path. But we can't go further until we show how serious we are and how we really want it, how enthusiastic we are to have it. And this is the answer to that question. A devotee who is actually serious will have very temporary bouts of confusion. One who is really serious. Oh, there was an expression I was thinking of. I kid and I joke, but I don't play. Look how it just came back. What was it, about an hour ago? I was trying to find that expression. But if you're really serious, you'll have very temporary bouts of confusion. But it will only really zap a devotee of their enthusiasm. It will not zap. You may have moments, temporary moments of confusion, but it won't zap your enthusiasm. Instead, they will see these challenges, there's the word he uses, as chances to confront the enemy in battle and win. The enemy has been exposed, which increases their enthusiasm even more. It means that the attacks of the mind will not disturb a high-level devotee. Now, some temporary jolts may occur. Oh my gosh, how did that happen? What am I thinking about that? But it will not drastically disturb the devotee. Because if you've been studying and practicing, you can pull the truth of yourself, who you are and what you are, right back and push that mind, neglect that mind nonsense that is trying to bring to you. The devotee will see it as a chance to address their fear, false ego, or lust. It pushes them to reach higher levels of acceleration. So on this path, as we've said many times, there will be tests, there will be challenges. But as you study and you remember what the goal is and you remember the essence of always remembering God, never forgetting God, and all the other points we brought out, it'll only be for temporary, but you will move on. But a low achiever or a person suffering from low self-esteem, he says, will meet the enemy who will simply overwhelm him due to their lack of faith. Now, he continues, God is directly and indirectly responsible for everything that happens to each person. God is directly and indirectly responsible for everything that happens to each person. And as we've said in the past, it happens based on our consciousness. It happens based on our desires. God fulfills our desires. He knows what's in our consciousness. What you're meditating on at this time, this is what you want. Okay, you've got it. Therefore, if we get upset about something in our lives, it has to do with some lack of faith in the Supreme Lord. That's lack of faith. For this reason, we emphasize the importance of being active, aggressive, and enthusiastic while simultaneously being patient. We want to actively cover our part of the contract while waiting for the Lord to cover his part of the contract on his own time. We have patience because we have faith that he will do what he has promised. You know, we've mentioned this many times, that God doesn't give us more than we can bear. And I usually remind people, no, but he gives us enough so that we can remember him and cry out to him for his help and be mindful, as he's saying here, of the enemies of the mind that are trying to slow us down and push us back. So, although our spiritual progression is not always vertical, this does not deter a person who really understands the science of self-realization. They just try to see how each arrangement is a manifestation of the Lord's mercy. You know, when things are going well, right? You'll hear, oh, Krishna's mercy. Oh, this happened, that happened. Big smile, right? It's Krishna's mercy. And then when it's the opposite, it's, my goodness, how did that happen to me? It's his fault. It's her fault. It's all still Krishna's mercy. Now, since the Lord has given us mercy in a particular way, we want to take advantage of it and use it for our growth. Now, if we remain enthusiastic, we will come out on the other side as a much more realized and potent person. So no matter what's going on, keep that enthusiasm there, knowing that it is Krishna's mercy we're receiving, whether at the moment we like it, and knowing that it's to help us to grow, to help us reach higher platforms. Now, basically, we never have any justification for a lack of enthusiasm. He says, basically, we have no justification for a lack of enthusiasm. Whoop-de-doo, we got to be enthusiastic all the time. And it doesn't have to be a woo-woo-woo enthusiasm. It can be an enthusiasm from within as you look out and you see what's going on and you realize what you've been given and what your understanding is. And it encourages you to do more, to help others. Remember the difference between serve and help? Remember we went through that so nicely. So to serve others, because it's really about service, because that's who we are, really, servants. Now, even if we have the most awesome challenge, we have the ability to be enthusiastic and learn. It's all a learning experience. We're in the school of life. We're in the school of love. And as he just said, that everything that happens is from God. So we're here to learn. We never have a legitimate reason for apathy. This basically sums up the essence of this topic. So that was the answer to that question, and I'm sure maybe we've had that. Here's another question that I thought was quite interesting. Now, in the beginning, he's saying to Bhaktitirtha Swami, in the beginning you described two types of people. Those with misdirected enthusiasm and those who do not have any enthusiasm. Can we also have misdirected enthusiasm within spiritual life? The answer is definitely. For instance, we have heard Rupa Goswami's injunction against over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to maintain. That was in Nectar of Instruction, text number 2. And if you haven't looked at your Nectar of Instruction in a while, get it out. Wonderful text to study. And if you're not familiar with Nectar of Instruction, you can go to Krishna.com and order a copy. Little thin book, but it has so much in it. A person on the spiritual path can still strive for the wrong goals, he says. The desire for profit, distinction, and adoration also misleads devotees into serving for the satisfaction of their own ego. And when we speak of service, bhakti, devotional service, it's all for Krishna. All the service we do. So if we're doing it for our own faults, even because we feel so self-important, that's going in the wrong direction. So the devotee may serve enthusiastically, but only to receive honor and fame. These are just a few examples of misdirected enthusiasm. Now, when a devotee falls victim to these traps, Krishna might help him or her by arranging the exact opposite. Because again, he loves us, Krishna loves us, and he wants to get us back home more than we even want to go home, it said. So he'll make another arrangement. Now, instead of honor, the person might receive great dishonor, which can ultimately help him, them, the devotee, understand how to not only engage in devotional service, but to serve in the right way. However, if a person does not have sufficient association and faith, they will want to give up when Krishna takes away the reward. And that's a sure sign that they weren't enthusiastically doing the service to please Krishna. It was for their own ego. See who I am. Now we must come to the point of unconditional, unmotivated, devotional service in order to knock on the door of praying, love of God. Krishna might facilitate us by giving us honor then, but only when he considers us mature enough. And he will take it away to see if we still eagerly serve without the reward. That's when it says unconditional, unmotivated service. Because for instance, he tells us that in a relationship, two lovers reciprocate in many different ways by offering service, care, and attention. However, if one person withdraws some of their service and attention, does that mean the other person will also stop? Or does the second person continue to steadily give love in order to arrive at a sweeter level of association? And that truly means one has to be fixed in their devotional service, in their understanding of what it is to be a servant of the Lord and want to serve, and the unconditional love that it is, and it's not about ego. Now, as we are serving mainly to obtain the opulence of God, do we really want to develop genuine love? This is the main problem among those engaged in Yoga Mishra Bhakti, Karma Mishra Bhakti, or Gyan Mishra Bhakti. That is bhakti which is mixed with fruitive activities, knowledge, or yoga. Therefore, it's not completely pure. How are these questions Are there any questions out there or comments? Anybody else came into the chat room?
Carol.
Carol's there. Hi, Carol. Welcome. Okay, so there's still Carol in the other.
And Anushka.
Okay. Okay, you want another question? Let's see. The question is, and hopefully this may be something you've thought about and didn't ask or feel you wanted to. And we're dealing with what in this chapter is the necessity of enthusiasm. And the question is, can enthusiasm itself become misdirected? If we only serve the Lord when we feel a certain emotion, it could keep us on the conditional platform. It seems that in order to reach the level of complete surrender, we must be able to continue with our service even when we lack taste and enthusiasm. Do you agree with that? Let's see what the answer is. He says, one may ask, if we never have a legitimate reason to feel unenthusiastic, why has the Lord given us the process of sadhana bhakti? Now, in the beginning, we mainly serve out of duty, okay? Rather than out of enthusiasm. And we often feel more excited when we can work according to our propensity. All feel better if we're doing something we really like to do, or something we feel we can really do well. It doesn't always work out that way. He says, though, if we seriously want to make spiritual advancements, we will find a way to enthusiastically do our service, even if we do not have a propensity for that type of work. And again, remember the words, if we seriously want to make spiritual advancement. And again, it comes back to our consciousness. Where are we and what do we want for our spiritual life? How do we want to move along the path? We might even be able to work in such a way that our propensities come out. For instance, a person might have to do business and function as a Vaishya, although they really feel more comfortable with the activities of a Brahmin. If this person has sufficient level of enthusiasm, they might find a way to dovetail their Brahminical tendencies by teaching business, because they will see it as an opportunity given by Krishna. Now, they're not denying their propensity. Not about denial. Rather, they're going deeper into whatever situation the Lord arranges. And there again, it comes back to what we're talking about faith, having faith. If it's not going the way you want it, and yet you have faith that Krishna is arranging and controlling, and that's where you are at the moment, then you can still enthusiastically do it. Because with faith in Him, you know it'll all work out and balance out. So again, the faith is very powerful. Now he's saying that these persons are not denying their propensity. but they're going deeper. And that's what everything is for, our going deeper. So they might make money as a teacher by offering workshops and courses and maintain their enthusiasm even though they are seemingly outside of their natural tendency. So he's telling us he's not here trying to imply that a person should only do what feels good, because many things feel good that are in no way spiritual. The Lord might send a particular situation that is outside of our natural grain. But if we persevere, it can help us move through the door toward praying. And what is praying? Love of God. What might seem to be an obstacle could easily be a chance to come closer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now for me, as he breaks it down like this, if we're really serious about our spiritual life, if we're being mindful and attentive, we will see these little things happening in our lives or changes. And for me, by hearing, it alerts me, that could be what's going on. So I must persevere. We can't just get deflated or not unhappy and think. As he says, we're not being in denial, but we're also seeing the higher aspect of the particular situation. So whatever duty we have, we want to do it with intensity while praying to the Lord for the ability to offer it with greater love and effectiveness. In this way, we will gradually move away from acting merely out of duty. And he tells a story. It's interesting, I know a little of this background. He says, for instance, I came to a community in Pennsylvania to help revive it as a service to my spiritual master. That was one thing. Bhakti Tirtha Swami, whatever he did, he offered it to his spiritual master. In fact, he used to tell us, anything we offer him, don't offer him any junk, because what we offer to him, he offered to Srila Prabhupada, and he doesn't offer him junk. He was that strict with us. So he said he came to this community to help revive it as a service to his spiritual master. Now he said he knew this would be his desire, his spiritual master. He said, my own preference would have been to stay in the city or start a totally fresh rural project in a different area. However, because I accepted the service out of duty, I tried to find more and more ways to absorb myself. By my spiritual master's mercy, I have become so excited about this project. I never thought I could find myself in a rural area, especially in a town in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania. But now I can barely wait to return after every trip. So he gives us examples of you maybe doing something for duty, but it's not about pleasing yourself, it's about pleasing the spiritual master or guru. During my travels all around the world, I begin to feel enthused at the end of a trip when I can come back to this beautiful 400 area community. Gita Nagri, Ki Jai. Now I do most of my writing here. I accept it out of duty, but then try to go deeper into my appreciating my chance to make an offering. I hope you're understanding what he's saying and how you in your everyday life. There are a number of questions here, but I want to end with this one. Oh, there's a section in this answer that I just found. I called up devotees and was reading it to them. Okay. The question is, as you explained, we're not masochistic, and we understand the importance of balance. But whose responsibility is it to seek that balance? Is it the responsibility of the individual, the authorities, the guru, or do we wait for Krishna to intervene? Now what I'm going to do, time is running out. I'm going to skip some of this if I can. He says here, it's really about the Lord and the living entity. If we have more faith in the Supreme, He will continue to manifest in our lives in so many ways. We will constantly feel enthused. The Lord will even come through the words of a drunken man. We might hear the drunk say something so profound that we gain tremendous insights. For instance, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we hear of the Avadut Brahmana, who learned from so many different types of gurus, such as the python, the elephant, the bees, and so on. That's an interesting story. Just by watching ants work together, we can learn about cooperation. We will learn from the cows, the peacocks, and so many other living entities. Now the difficulty stems from lack of faith in sadhu, sastra, and guru. Unfortunately, we have trouble in all of these areas, and the Lord knows. Therefore, He has given us this process in Kali Yuga of what? Focusing on chanting the names of God for internal as well as external consciousness. The holy name, the holy name, the holy name. And it'll raise our consciousness so that we can still grow in spite of doubts and weaknesses and continue to nourish our devotional kripa. He says that for this reason, Rupa Goswami and Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, which we've quoted in this chapter, and I've recommended their books, Nectar of Instruction, Text 2 and 3, Madhurya Kandambini, the whole book, fantastic. But we can avoid that which will destroy our enthusiasm by reading what's in those books, and of course if you're listening here. And not only avoid that which will destroy our enthusiasm and our entire spiritual lives. So they gave us, these authors, a list of anarthas, weeds, and aparats. And he says, no one who has a serious connection with my ministry, Bhakti Tirtha Swami speaking, should be confused in this area, because I focus so much on anathavritti, or the removal of unwanted weeds, bad habits, etc. He focuses on, that's what he's done throughout these books. Sometimes he puts it right in your face. This is what it is. Now this is how you clear it away. That's what is the exciting and enthusiastic knowledge, understanding from these books. So he says, someone might even run away from my association because I always talk about what to avoid. But isn't that helpful? Isn't that important? If you're told what to avoid, then your ears are up, your eyes are open to make sure you avoid it. And then you're told, by avoiding that, what you can accomplish. Huh? That's what makes these books so wonderful. I hope you're reading them yourself. So he says, some might wonder why I don't talk about higher spiritual experiences more. But when we do talk, when we overcome our anathas, our bad habits, get the weeds out, nothing is left but the higher. Huh? So it's not a scrambling, it's a process. And he's telling us, you know what to avoid. When you avoid it, there's nothing else to deal with but the higher knowledge, the higher understanding towards the goal, through the door, love of God. So he says we must always hear about the spiritual world and the pastimes of the Lord, because this creates enthusiasm. We do not want to minimize the importance hearing about the goal, but we must also know what to avoid. Now, some of the modes of material nature have us bound up. It is more important to hear how to get out. For this reason, Srila Prabhupada continuously emphasizes basic philosophy. What's that? Again and again he reminds us the basic fact that we are not our bodies, but ultimately spiritual beings using material bodies. Huh? That's the basic knowledge. So just hearing about the higher will not set us free if we do not know how to get out of the lower. So you see what he's doing with us, helping us to get out of the lower and rise to the higher. But we got to know what the lower is and that we're immersed in it. But we also need to know the way out, and that's what he helps us with. So he says we cannot skip the whole process, starting with Shraddha, faith, and ending with prem, love. Can't skip. You have to take it step by step. And the Acharyas have explained the basic types, steps to us that we must follow. And as we have discussed in this chapter, one of the most important tenets is maintaining what? Enthusiasm. So I'll end there. I hope you're feeling some enthusiasm and understanding the importance and, as he says, the necessity of enthusiasm as we move through on our spiritual path. Are there any questions, any comments? Is there anybody else there? Who's there?
Carol, Bhuvan Mohan, Ian,
Oh,
and Anushka.
Ah, greetings. Welcome, Bhuvan Mohan, and welcome, Ian. Sorry I couldn't talk anymore the other night, but as it gets later, I try to stay enthusiastic. Any comments, any questions? I hope this chapter, because we're going to be looking for a new adventure next week, which is always exciting. Trying to ask for guidance is what I can offer next. But this has been, I thought, quite a wonderful chapter, reminding us of the necessity of enthusiasm and how we need to get rid of anarthas and weeds and things and just make room for moving higher and higher until we reach the ultimate goal. So, any comments, any questions? Okay, Carol, you're all right this week? I'm glad you're here. And Bhuvan, welcome. We missed you. And to the others, thank you very much for coming. And I hope you have these books and you're reading. And if you see any particular chapter you would like us to go through let us know. I've told you you may contact me at motherintrani108@gmail.com. And we can exchange there if you get me before my bedtime. But I thank you all for coming and have a wonderful, enthusiastic week. And we will meet again. Hare Krishna.